All right. We're back here on the random video blog for this week where I give my rambling thoughts in the world of wrestling and everything else going on in the world around me. As you saw in the video blog last week, I talked about that brief little antidote, that story that I told about not going to the Boston Live event a couple weeks ago where The Rock showed up, and the basic moral of that story was to never miss a WWE live event. You never know what's going to happen. Expect the unexpected. Wrestling life, whatever. Always expect the unexpected. So this video kind of ties into that. Like I said in that video, I filmed that video last Wednesday when I was on vacation. So the next day, we went to an amusement park. We went to Santa's Village. We went up to New Hampshire on vacation, North Conway to be specific. I don't even know where that was. But if you know what Santa's Village is, I believe, Mick Foley, who is a huge Christmas fan, he's been there a bunch of times. Like when I was there on that Tuesday, that's all that I was thinking of. Like Mick Foley was here a couple months ago to film some video, or a couple weeks ago, whatever. And like thinking, this is so cool. Should I ask somebody, like one of the employees, did you see Mick Foley here, whatever? I just kind of opted not to do it. And I wore my Warrior shirt there. A couple people recognized it was a pretty cool time. But getting on to Thursday, though, we were in Santa's Village on Tuesday. Thursday, we were at another amusement park. And not like a Disney World or a freaking, Universal or something like that. It was called Attach. Attach, whatever it was called. It had like a couple rides and not skylines, but zip lining is the word I'm looking for. And a couple other little mini roller coasters and stuff like that. So it was kind of a cool day out. We were doing that on Thursday. So we got there early in the morning. We did the few rides and whatever. We got something to eat. And after getting out of lunch and whatever, we went back on the first ride that we went on when we first got there because it was pretty awesome. It was a roller coaster, not like, a Boulder Dash or something like that. Or you might not even know what that is if you don't live in the Northeast area. I'm trying to think of like a Space Mountain or whatever, like one of those rides that you would ride in, I don't know, Disney World or something like that. I'm not really sure. But you can control the speed of your own pod, of your own coaster. You're in by yourself. It's a one-person thing. You go up this huge hill through these woods, and you go down all these like twists and turns and stuff like that through the forest, and you can control your own speed. You can't stop all the way, otherwise people will bump right into you, and it can get pretty dangerous. That did happen at some points, not to me, but to other people from what I saw. And it was a pretty cool coaster. So we get back on it. We're waiting in line at the very end of the line. And out through my peripheral vision, I see some big guy walking towards me. And you couldn't mistake him for anyone else. It was Mick frickin' Foley wearing a vintage Santa's Village t-shirt, a vest with Santa Claus all over it. And that was, the indicator right there that it was Mick Foley. I mean, of course, I'm freaking out. And he's walking towards me, and he's like, oh, no. And he wasn't like, oh, shit, this sucks, because I recognized him. But he was like, oh, because he saw my t-shirt, and I was wearing my Macho Man Randy Savage t-shirt, and one of my favorite t-shirts that I own. Because even, people that aren't wrestling fans anymore recognize it or have one of those and whatever. It's one of the most popular wrestling shirts of all time, if not, even just today. But I was wearing that shirt. He saw that. He's like, oh no. He knew that I recognized him. And I was kind of like freaking out. And I looked at, my family's all around me. I'm like, that's Mick fucking Foley. Is that Mick Foley right there? And, not the fact, it was great that it was Mick Foley. It wasn't like it was, I don't know, Jimmy Wang Yang or something like that. But the fact that it was one of the greatest of all time, a former, WWE champion, WWE legend, pro wrestling legend, Mick Foley, was just amazing and surreal in and of itself. So that kind of, and just the fact, like I said before, I'm a sucker for a great surprise. I hate to read spoilers and stuff like that when it comes to wrestling or anything, basically, in any aspect of my life. Not like I was going to be spoiled that Mick Foley was there, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm a huge sucker for those kind of surprises. It was great seeing Mick. I met him before a couple years ago. I talked about it here in the video blog back in December, and that awesome story, probably one of, if not the coolest wrestling experience I've ever had in terms of meeting a wrestler and having him sign my book when it wasn't even, when I went in there, that was not what I was expecting was going to happen. So the full story on that is up here on the YouTube channel from December, the random video blog section. Like I said, you can go back and check that out in that playlist from December. But like I said, it wasn't the fact, part of it was the fact that it was Mick Foley, but more so just, what are the odds, that you just run into the Mick Foley of all people when you're at an amusement park on vacation? And like I said, it wasn't in Disney World. It wasn't any of these other, Universal or whatever. It was some random place in the middle of New Hampshire, like who would have ever expected? He had his two kids with him who were also recognized from his videos and documentary and stuff like that, the I Am Santa Claus documentary. and the Santa Claus themed attire, the Santa Claus themed clothing that he was wearing was kind of the tip off that it was Mick Foley. So of course, stupidly I asked him, "Are you Mick Foley?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "You're the greatest. I'm a huge fan. I love your books and whatnot." He said, thank you. I appreciate it. So I had my stepdad take a picture of us, and he's like, "Thank you," or whatever. I was like, "Thank you." And they're like, "Oh, wait, can I just take one more picture with my phone?" And that's the picture that I use as this. I'll probably use this as a thumbnail for this video. It's up on Facebook and Twitter and whatever. But that was about it. I didn't really have much conversation with him other than, just going to get a quick picture. I don't want to be one of those fans that's following him around or bothering him and asking him a million questions. Do you have John Cena's phone number? Whatever, something like that. Can I have CM Punk's phone number? Something dumb like that. Not that any normal person would ask that anyway, but I know from reading stories online that, some fans, not just wrestling fans, but just people in general, just kind of had the tendency to kind of just bother people, celebrities relentlessly, anyone with any notoriety whatsoever, just kind of bothering them. And it was kind of more so the fact that he was with his family, he was on vacation, I assume, I'm not really sure. He said he was in Santa's Village like I was a couple days before I was, about 3 days ago, or 3 days before I was. I was there on Tuesday. I believe he said that he was there on the Sunday. We were over the previous weekend. But yeah, it was insane. That wasn't the end of it either. I just kind of walked away, went back to my place in line. He was a couple people behind me, and I'm just like trying to digest it. I have a smile on my face for the next 3 days. I'm like, I just met Mick Foley, just of all places right here. And we go on the roller coaster and whatever. We're going up the coaster. My brother's right behind me. And the way that the coaster is designed is that when people are going up, you could see the people that are going down. So when my little brother was going down the coaster, he waved to Mick Foley because he saw him, and Mick Foley waved and smiled, so that was pretty funny when he told me that. But that was not the end of the experience. Later on, after that roller coaster, we went to the next one, which was right next door, or right nearby there. There was the one right next to it. So we go over to that. And this one's a little different. Again, you also get to control your speed, but it wasn't a roller coaster per se. It was like sleds on this huge slide up down this massive hill. And again, you get to control your own speed by, pulling up or pushing back, whatever. So that makes you go faster or slower or whatever. So we were going to go on that one. You have to take this giant ski loft up there. I went up with my brother, and we were going to go down this ride. And once again, the Foley family was only a couple people behind us. And when you get up to this giant hill waiting to go down, there's like this whole line of people in 2 lanes waiting to go down, waiting for your turn. And the Foley boys were right behind me or my brother. They were right behind us. They were right there, and I wasn't going to bother them. And it would have been cool, like, "Oh, your dad's the greatest." I don't want to do that. But still, I figured Mick Foley was there with him because he was waiting in line with his kids. So my brother and I go down, Foley's son. I don't know if it was Mickey or Huey. Noelle was not there, by the way. I had some people ask me that Noelle was not there. Unfortunately, I don't know what she was doing, but she was not there. Only Mickey and Huey. I believe what their names were. I believe it was those of his 2 kids. So one of them is going down the other lane when I'm going down. He's going down one, I'm going down the other, and I'm like pretty much beating him. I race down, and my brother and I get down at the end. We're racing down this giant-ass hill, and we finally get down there, and all of a sudden, because where we were, the end of the ride is also right next to the start of the ride, and coming down the ski lift was none other than Mick Foley, who I guess either didn't want to go on the ride or they didn't allow him because he was so big or whatever. He was too broken down, whatever. And it was crazy. And when he gets off the ride, he comes around to where we were. We were waiting for our parents to come down, and he came up right behind us, just waiting for his kids to come down. So and before I could even say anything to him, he kind of looked at us and said, "Was this ride, hey, how's it going, guys? Was this ride better than the other one? Was it more fun? Was it cool?" Kind of asking us to brief, just some brief chit-chat, whatever. And before I had the chance, I was going to ask him, 2 questions. One, if he recalled that experience I had with him from 4 years ago. And it wasn't like, I just met him. It was the fact that he read my book and he signed my book. And I know he has a great memory from reading his autobiographies. So there is a chance you could remember that. That, and also one of my friends from school and college is a neighbor of Foley's. That's how that whole thing kind of started up. If I can get an interview with him, whatever, that kind of fell through, but he still wished me well in my endeavors. So that was pretty cool. And I wanted to ask him if he knew that girl, if he knew his, that family. And I asked him, he said, "No, just hold on 1 second," because he had to go, get his kids when they were coming down. He wanted to take a picture or whatever. And unfortunately, when his kids went down, there were 2 other people right behind them, a father and their son. The son crashed into the dad because, like I said, you can control your own speed. The kid didn't slow down. He smashed right into his dad, and the dad smashed into the kids. I mean, it wasn't like they were seriously hurt. They were probably a little shaken up by it. And so Foley was dealing with that. He was talking to the dad, then management, whatever. And I wasn't going to wait around for him and continue to bother him. So I just kind of went on my way and just went elsewhere in the park. And then we saw him a little later on. It was hard to miss him. I mean, one park, you could see one park in the end from the other. And we could see him walking into the lodge area to get some food, whatever. And then we didn't see him after that, I assume, because checking on his Twitter later that night, he went to a baseball game in Portland, Maine, so he probably had to leave to go to there. But still, just the fact that I got to meet him at all, because when I was going up the ski lift the first time before I saw him, that I got to talk to him that second time, the guy that was running the ski lift was like, "Hey, did you know Mick Foley is here?" And if someone told me, well, what the fuck, Mick Foley is here, and I didn't get to meet him, I would have been extremely bummed out. So the fact I saw him approaching me was even better. And I feel like, I was talking about this with a few of my family members that I was with that day, that it might have been even funnier had we been going up the ski lift and he was going down. Like, is that Mick Foley right there? I don't even know. Something like that would have been crazy. But yeah, just a surreal experience. And Mick Foley is a super chill, super genuine guy. I really appreciate the picture. He didn't have to do that. He was with his kids. He was super nice to us, so I will never forget that memory. It was already an awesome vacation, as I talked about my last video last week here in the video blog. But that just kind of took it over the top. And like I said in last week's video, this is, I was bummed out. I was disappointed I didn't go to that rock event. And this was the exact opposite. This was kind of making up for that. And expect the unexpected, it was just amazing. So meeting Foley was great. Make sure to, if he's at any pro wrestling events in the area that you're going to or whatever, I know he's going to be at Northeast Wrestling in Mass on August 2nd, which I may or may not be going to. I'm not exactly sure yet, but that's in about a month. If you're in the area, go check him out there. I know he does a lot of appearances and stuff like that, so make sure to go check him out. It was just an amazing experience that I will definitely never forget.